So you officially turned pro this summer, correct?
Yeah, I turned pro, I guess would have been right after I graduated in May or June. So
And your first tournament as a pro was the Edmonton Golf Association's Edmonton Open at Coal Creek. You had a little bit of a wild ride there. Tell us a little bit about that tournament.
yeah, so that was I was gonna be turning pro no matter what. Um this summer. I had Q school lined up to play, which would have been in June, maybe middle of June, in Victoria. So I knew that was gonna be my first kind of event trying to get some status on the Americas tour. And then the Edmonton Open came up as one that I could play, turn pro right then and play in that one. And basically it was just to get a little bit of like 3 warm-up rounds before I go to Q school, which would have been perfect. And then we got some thunder and lightning that took us off the golf course, tornado warnings, and first round was washed out. And then I played a really good second round in decent conditions, and then it was too windy to even play the third round. I hit my tee shot on one, and then they called it. So probably the strangest first pro event I think I could have had, but at the same time, like played good golf and was able to win. I I still think I would have rather played 3 rounds to get some more prep for Q school, but regardless, it was enjoyable and a pretty funny experience, especially playing with and against a lot of the guys I've played with in tons of Alberta golf events, for the past 5-10 years. So yeah, a funny start though to pro golf, we'll say.
For sure. I'm not sure many people can say they had a start like that, for
No.
sure. Who this just kind of came up too. Who is kind of around the same age as you that you kind of grew up playing the junior tournaments with?
I mean, like Kai Iguchi, like I said, went to school with him, so he was around. I don't really remember when I started playing with him, but I remember playing quite a few rounds with him. And then I always remember once I started playing better, kind of when I was 17 or 18, I felt like I played with Carter Graff and Ethan Choi seemingly like every other week, whether it was junior golf events uh or Alberta amateurs or opens or whatever it was. And then I think just a year or two younger than me, like Braden O'Grady, he was at UVU for a year. So like there's a lot of guys that I kind of grew up playing against and with that maybe I was with later in school or that ended up down to school as well. And then even on the Canadian team now, the young pro team, we got Max Sekulik and Brendan McDougall, both Albertan guys, both older players that I think I did look up to it a bit, but it was also weird because they were so far ahead and like they were on the national team as juniors, and so it was something to focus on and checking leaderboards and looking for Albertan guys on leaderboards. So guys like that where I was always kind of following and then now playing with. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. How did Q school end up going in Victoria, you said, right? So that would have been for the PGA Americas.
yeah, so that was America's Q school in Victoria in June. Again, my first real, I guess, exposure to what pro golf would be. And Q school is just such a different environment, I guess. It's a normal 4-day tournament, but at the same time, it's so different because you're just trying to get, to qualify and get spots on a tour, and everybody's trying to, and it's just like a really grindy week. And I played 3 really solid rounds where my golf game wasn't amazing, but I was like basically just pushing through and finding a way to score okay. And then third round there was some wind and got exposed a little bit on those parts of my game that weren't great. And I think that's kind of just how it was. And honestly, there's a lot of pressure as well. I put myself in this position to qualify, and I'd never been in that position in pro golf because I just started. So uh it was a tough week, but I think especially this year, kind of only playing really a half year from June to now, like I think it's all just learning. It's getting exposure to these little Q schools or tournaments and just being able to learn about, you know, maybe the course or learn the situation or more like learn about myself and how I can react better and stuff like that. Cause I know for sure like there's a lot of pressure and maybe a lot of noise in my brain to start that fourth round where, when things go wrong, it's like I said, like the more prepared you are, the easier it is. And I think if I go back to play that and I'm more prepared, I think I get through no problem. So regardless, it was one of the tougher weeks just to start out, but I think I had a good summer regardless, and hopefully go qualify next year if that's the case.
Yeah. Well, and getting the reps, no matter how many times you've maybe been in that situation or been in a tournament, it's still not the same. The
Yeah,
Q school is Q school. There's like, that's the end goal, right? Eventually getting through all of those stages and making it to the tour, right?
exactly.
Um, so you also, I happened to be around the Mickelson Invitational all week, and you had a heck of a week there. Both kind of on and off the course, with the skills competition and stuff too. So, let's talk about the skills comp, because that was a pretty electric moment. I mean, it started, and actually I approached you when we were over on the long drive side
Mhm.
of everything before any of that happened, and just asked if you would come on the podcast
Mhm.
and reminded you of our interview from way back in the day. And then the putting competition happened, and I think you were in one of the final 10 for that. The putts they were making you guys do were absolutely
Yeah,
insane.
it was a little ridiculous.
Yeah. And then the putts that ended up, the putt that ended up winning was the opposite of how hard
Of
all the
those,
initial putts were.
right? Yeah.
Brett, no offense, but man, 10-footer. Okay. Anyways, then we go over and we do this little shootout from the first tee over to the practice green by the 10th tee. We were actually supposed to do this in my Alberta Golf Tour event, but it was, like how day one the weather was at the
Yes, I
Mickelson. Yeah,
definitely
it was
remember.
that. It was
Yeah.
that all day for my
Nobody,
event there,
no,
so we
nobody
didn't end
wants to
up doing
spend
it.
any more time outside than that.
Oh no, no, awful. But everyone's there. I loved how fast that one went. Like just everyone was rolling, and my phone was almost dead from taking all these videos all day and at the other skills comp. So I wasn't recording in that moment, but it was in my hand. So like as you one hop dunked your chip
Mhm.
in, um, I pull out my camera. So I kind of recorded the reaction. Luckily, Mickelson has all their cameras rolling all the time, so they got everything.
Mhm.
What was that like? I guess that shot, I feel like they were announced, it was like 67 yards or something like that.
Yeah, it was like a 60 or 70 yarder, kind of like downhill towards the 10th tee to that little practice green.
And it was a
And,
front pin.
and yeah, it was like tucked at the front. And I think because last year or the prior year, the first year of the Invitational, Cooper Humphreys had jarred one and he had like pulled it off the back slope, and
Yeah.
everybody was trying the same thing now because they'd seen him make it, and that was the thing to do, was to try to spin it back into the hole. So I'd like watch probably 20 guys try it, and it like even if they did hit it perfect, it would come back maybe just not quite there. So there was a couple balls that got really close, and I was like, I think the only way you can do it is land it in like the 5 feet of green before and somehow get it close. And it didn't even cross my mind trying to make it. I mean, you're obviously trying to make it because you're trying to hit it that close, but actually making it never crossed my mind. And then when it did go in, I think we were hitting kind of back into the sun as well. And I like when it did
Yeah.
go in,
Yeah, you couldn't see.
I I thought I went in, and it was probably the 2 seconds maybe, but it felt like a minute where I was like, I don't I don't want to
Where is
celebrate.
it?
'Cause if that didn't go in, I'm gonna look like a weirdo.
Right.
But everybody just erupted, and and then I lost it because just the little bit of the atmosphere they're able to kind of make. 'Cause I think especially in a pro event like that, like to create an atmosphere around skills competitions isn't easy, because I think a lot of the guys are taking it relatively serious as far as
Yeah.
the tournament goes. So to be able to, like, even in the putting competition, like that got the heart pumping, and then there's no way I was going to go in the long drive because of what those guys were doing.
That was
So
wild.
so to be able to, yeah, just have everybody huddled around, and to see what Cooper did last year, and then to have that again and make it was unreal. It was, yeah, just a crazy, crazy, crazy thing to happen that still even now, like, it doesn't really feel like I did it because it's just a weird situation and it's unique, but so fun. It's an
Yeah.
event that I think they set it really well, set it up really well to, have some fun, but also have some really good golf. So yeah,
Yeah.
pretty well done.
It's got some like live golf-esque vibes, the DJ, you can hear the music when you're on like 16, 17 still.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, but so do you guys like, I guess as pros, I know like they bring in a bunch of the influencers there and whatnot, and that's kind of a part of the whole vibe and the atmosphere. As pros, like how do you feel about the music pumping that loud and stuff? Like, does that distract you? Is that just part of the things that you accept about that particular tournament?
Yeah, you definitely have to accept it. Like, there's no way you're gonna go play a tournament like that and like we said, start whining about something when it's the same for everybody. Like that's how it is, and it's cool. The first day was weird because, like you said, it was really kind of gray and cold and rainy.
Mm-hmm.
So when the DJ showed up and started pounding music at 10 or 11, there was part of me that was a little confused because it just didn't really fit the kind of the vibe around the
Vibe of the
course because
day.
everybody
Yeah.
was kind of not enjoying themselves and there
No.
weren't many people out there, which I don't blame them. But then the next 2 days when the weather was good, it was really cool because especially for me, like I played well and coming down the stretch that final round, even passing through nine and people were showing up, like it's cool. I think everybody wants to play tournaments where there's spectators or some sort of buzz around the tournament around the 18th green. So for me, like it just grew on me as the week went on. The DJ was pretty crazy, and obviously a lot of people were showing up for the rides to the Cowboys, but regardless, they were there and watching some golf. So
Totally.
yeah, an event that if it fits my schedule, I will play next year and years to come for sure. Just because I think it's refreshing, it's relatively relaxing, and at the same time, it's great competition. So
Yeah. And
a course that's fun and close to home. So yeah,
exactly.
really good
And
week.
is that like, I don't know because I don't look at the purse. Like, is that a decent purse too for kind of like a beginner professional
Yeah, that's
event?
the thing. Like, I think that's the most difficult part of pro golf, like entry, like your entry into pro golf, I guess, is like the financial side's tough and the cost of playing a lot of tournaments that have good purses is kind of crazy. Like I know down here, like there's some very solid, mini tour stuff where it's about 1,500 bucks to enter and it's still 20 to 25 grand to win, but the drop off is pretty quick and the players are still really good. So for that event to have a solid field and lots of amateurs that get to play and kind of compared to some solid pros that are trying to make it and then some PGA pros, like I think it's a really good mix. And like for me, I think the purse is attractive. Like it's something that I would never go to play and feel like it's a missed opportunity as far as playing something else. Like it's somewhere if I go play well, I can make some good money and that makes a big difference, for the rest of the year for me. So yeah,
Exactly.
I think they've set it up really well and I just think it's going to keep growing. I think that's their goal and the more it does, the more fun it'll be.
Yeah, it's super cool. And one of their, like you said, it's a really good mix. And one of their, I guess, part of the mix is to bring in kind of the top 5 ranked on Junior Golf Scoreboard
Mhm.
juniors. So my son ended up getting an invite into it, which is why I was there all week watching. And it really, like, it's so cool to be able to also see some of these really talented juniors playing against, like, you guys who have maybe just turned pro, or people who are still in college and kind of going through getting that development and the experience and whatnot. And I think it's really cool for each segment of who they've invited there. So it's a really, really neat format. Um, on one note, you were talking about Cooper making that chip shot. I don't know what did they
Yeah,
call it, the chip shot?
yeah,
Um, Funny story, this year I actually won a drink off of Riley Fleming because he was 100% convinced that it was Connor Syriac that made it. He saw a
really,
smiley kid with big hair and he's like,
yeah,
no, it was the blonde kid. And I was like, I don't know what blonde kid you're talking about. And we end up going inside to find, actually, I think it was, no, Cooper was coming off of 18 as we were having this argument. And I was like, Coop, help me
Yeah.
out here. We just bet on a drink. Like, was it you or some blonde kid that made this? And he's like, it was me. So we
Yeah.
go inside to get the drink, and Connor happens to be in there, and he's like, that's kid. And I was like, no, no, it
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
Connor.
Yeah. It's awesome.
So let's talk about your actual tournament experience at the Invitational. Yeah, round one, the weather was brutal. I literally, for anyone who wasn't there, which is pretty much all of you, I was just the psychotic mom who was watching my child. I had to change my shoes at the turn, and I was
Oh,
wearing waterproof golf shoes.
absolutely.
It was insane. It
Yes.
was and it was like 6 degrees. I literally had like all my rain gear and there's a picture of me they took actually. I'm in a blanket and a toque, and yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah.
What was playing
That,
that first round like?
that's a weird one just because of how solid the weather was the next 2 days. You would have never
Yeah.
expected how bad it was that first round. And I guess like we mentioned before, everybody's playing in the same weather, but at the same time, it's just nobody's really enjoying it. I
No.
think in one point it's just horrible and nobody wants to be out there. But for me, like I think I shot one under that first round, and like I'm walking off the golf course, like shaking my caddy's hand, like holy, we did really well today. Like I'm really happy with that. I think I don't even know what the low score was, maybe 2 under 3, but it's like uh, I'm walking off the golf course happy, and I think it's kind of it is nice to have rounds where you battle and work for it, and you don't have to go shoot 7 under to be over the moon about your round, because I think at least this summer that was kind of the case in a lot of the tournaments I played. So uh
Yeah.
yeah, playing in weather like that is strange, just because you don't get it super often, or you hope you don't get it super often, but
Yeah.
it provides a completely different challenge just overall. So yeah.
Well, and they had the rough so long in certain areas, and then with just how wet it was, like the balls were just plugging even in the rough. I mean, you got to play lift clean in place that day. And did you play the rest of the week lift clean in place because it was so wet? I can't even remember now.
I don't actually remember if we did. I know it was very wet though, because all the lows, there's a lot of all the rolling hills, everything that's low is getting very, very wet.
Yeah. And so, you think about Mickelson and the way that they built that and the length that they built it. So you guys are playing, what was it, like 7,600-ish
Yeah,
yards
I'm
from
not
the
sure what it
tips
tips out
there?
at, but it's long.
It's
It's a
long.
big
And
golf
you're
course.
not getting any roll
No.
on that first day because of how wet it is. Like everything's just landing and kind of
Just
plugging there.
yeah.
Yeah. So like did I guess how different did the course play to day 2 and 3 from day one? Like it just in terms of rollouts and yardages that you had into greens, being able to get to par fives and two, stuff like that. Like, did that change? Did your game plan have to alter quite a
I
bit?
think on a golf course like that, it's nice because regardless, you're kind of able to just hit driver everywhere. Like that's a golf course where you go to, the fairways are wide, you can kind of just bomb it everywhere because it is a long golf course. Into greens, it definitely makes a difference because of how sloped they are. There's a lot of, if it is firm and fast, you have to play it to front or side slopes and kind of work the ball in that way. And then if it's soft, you're just kind of sticking it into whatever corners of the greens they have the pins. So in that way, targets are a little bit different, but uh, yeah, the biggest difference is just how what clubs you have into pins. Like I know, like I want to say it's 11 on the back nine, the par five. Like by the third round, you're hitting a drive that's kicking 80 yards down the fairway, and I was hitting like a 3 iron in the green. And the other days, I'm hitting 3 wood to lay it up on the right side because it's rainy still.
Higher. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's wet, and when it's raining, the ball's not going as far. You got wind, it's cold, everything is going against you. So in that way, it's the I guess the alteration you have to make is strictly just recognizing what's gonna be affecting the ball and make those decisions. Because yeah, especially going from say what it was 10 degrees and rainy and windy, and then you get to the heat, like everything's flying different, and you have to
Hmm.
play it a little different. But the rain did help because those last 2 days when it's relatively soft makes it pretty simple to just choose a club and try to stick it. So
Yeah. Okay, so you said you were a guy that likes to hit driver everywhere. I'm curious, just for my own purposes, how did you play 7 and 16? the two drivable par fours.
7, yeah, 7. I hit driver 3 wood every day. Like for me, I can, especially if there's a little bit of trouble around the green, I can hit a driver and you know, worst case, if I'm in a bad spot, I can hit it to somewhere I can get up and down and make a 4. And then uh usually if I lay up, I find a way to mess it up because I'm trying to play it safe. So
Yeah.
I usually just go for it unless there's, OB or a hazard that's easy to hit it into. And then 16 is exactly the opposite of what I was saying because just the way that that hole sets up, like I am a lefty and I hit a cut, and if I hit like a kind of the weak cut, it kind of just drops into that creek. So I was hitting like a 3 or 4 iron, basically as far as I could hit it up, and then having a nice wedge in there. I think I might have gone for it one day when the wind was off the left, but yeah, that's one hole where just based off of my kind of shot pattern, I'd try to take it a little bit more conservative, just so that if I do hit a poor shot, it's not gonna punish me too much. Because if I was,
Yeah.
I say if I was a righty, I don't know, but if I was a righty, I'd probably go for that every time because if the hole was flipped, it would fit my eye perfect.
Yeah. Well, exactly. That whole left side. Well, and then you've got the creek, but you've also got a lot of the land just sloughing there now too,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah, definitely.
kind of nasty over there. I only know because Tyler was over there every single day because he also a lefty and hit driver every day
Yeah.
there. Um, okay, let's talk about kind of going into the final round. You did really well there. Were you in the final or second last group? I can't remember
I
now if you
think
were
I
in the
was in
final
the
group.
I was in the second I was in the second last or third last group. I think it was second last group. Yeah.
Yeah. And what was that feeling like? This is like your probably your biggest professional tournament at that point,
Mhm.
outside of I guess Q school, but you've got like the spectators, you've got the like you said, the vibe of the DJ, all these spectators are coming out. Like what was, coming in, finishing those last few holes like and how did you stay focused on your score?
That was good. Like the top of the leaderboard was a kind of a good mix. Like I think I played with Cooper and Joey Savoy, who's on the Canadian team. So guys that I don't think I'd ever played with them in tournaments, but I had known. So that was comfortable. And then top of the leaderboard, there was some other guys that I had known, but also some like really, they're all really solid players. So going in, it was, if I even play a decent round, I'm probably gonna drop a few spots. So all it was, I played really good in the weather the first day. I played good golf the second day. I think I started the second day really strong and then kind of fizzled out. So my biggest goal was just to put a full round together and you know basically you know keep it on the upward momentum swing the whole day. And I think I did that well. I think I on 16 I made a or maybe 17 I made a bogey that kind of didn't kill my chances of winning, but maybe hurt him a bit. And you know that's whatever. But it was a good round because I felt like I did that the whole round. I felt like I was in a position to be near the lead, early. I think our group was low on the front nine, and we were all probably 3 to 5 under. So that helps as well when you're playing with guys that are, you know, you're starting the day similar score, and then
Yeah.
if somebody starts to pull away, like that regardless of what the group behind you is doing, like you got to keep up with the guys that you're playing with. So uh, I kept up with him on the front and finished really well. I especially, G won, and I don't think there's many golf courses that are set up better for a guy that hits it as long as he does. And um, yeah, so I knew it was gonna be a challenge either way just because of who was playing that last group. But
Yeah.
to bring it to 18 and I hit a perfect drive and a really good second shot on 18 and gave myself an eagle putt that honestly from 10 feet out, I thought couldn't miss. So I thought I'd given myself enough of a chance to at least tie the lead. But yeah, so what however it ended up, if I won or if I didn't win, Jeevan took it home and I played well and gave myself a chance. So that's all that really matters because I think that feeling you get coming down the stretch in like 17 and 18 in any tournament that you're in contention in is like that's that's what you're looking for. That's what that's what you're practicing for because it's
Yeah.
as tough as it is and um, you know how stressful it can be, it's the best feeling in the world. So I was super happy I could kind of be in contention there my first time playing there, and hopefully will the next few years as well.
Yeah, and kind of hometown boy compared to, the rest of the top of the leaderboard too, which
Yeah,
was
exactly.
pretty cool.
I'd love to keep the Albertans up at the top of the leaderboard, especially in that event.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, Jeevan, I was shocked because he's not like a burly dude. He's really tall.
yeah,
And when he was in the long drive, I think he might have been hitting when you and I were chatting over there. Like
yeah. He probably
I
was.
like over 400 yards.
Yeah, I mean, he through like the whole DeChambeau COVID era where everybody's looking for speed, he was one of the ones chasing it, and he found it. And honestly, he's kind of pulled it back. Like I know in recent he's had some injuries, probably in part because of the speed stuff. But
Yeah.
I think he did enough speed stuff that he learned just how to move efficiently, and obviously is still tall and still rips it. So
Yeah,
helps a lot in that golf course, that's for sure.
absolutely. Um, and then you just played in a different Q school here this past weekend over Thanksgiving. I'm
Mhm.
not sure when this is going to come out, so I'll be more specific. So how did that end up going, and what was that experience like having played one Q school before?
Yeah, so this past week was the first stage of Corn Ferry Q School, and again, like my first year pro, it's my first kick at this kind of stuff. It's another Q school, but at the same time, like America's is one stage. You either qualify or you don't. And Corn Ferry, you got three different stages where you gotta kind of make it all the way to get much out of it. So it's really tough because as much as the first stage is um, kind of distant from your goal, it's still a part that you have to succeed at to even go anywhere. So um, and again, it's Corn Ferry Q School. Like there's a lot of really good players that have played PG Tour Corn Ferry in recent years that are playing there. So I went in not I wasn't unconfident with my game, but just I had some question marks, honestly. Through the whole summer, there was parts of my game that I had felt solid, but weren't really getting to the point that I wanted them. Uh, Kind of like scoring clubs and wedges and irons. So I kind of went in with some stuff that I had changed a little bit, and it felt good. And it the changes I had made were not very drastic, but not feeling perfect to start the first few days. And the greens were wicked quick, so I wasn't able to kind of fix that with the putter either. So I played 3 rounds of very what I would call poor golf, and you know put myself in a spot where I'd have to go crazy low the last day to get in, and uh, kind of honestly the final day I found what I was looking for, and found a little bit of a fix that I think changes those issues into a big positive, which is unfortunate because it's a week too late. But
Yeah.
regardless, I'm playing better golf now than I was before. So the timing didn't work out great, but I think timing is much more important than maybe some people think, especially in golf at this stage. So um, as tough as it is to feel like I kind of failed at that, uh, I don't do it very well, but I got to cut myself a little slack. It's my first year. I'm going to have more opportunities at it. So yeah, but what I got out of it, again, I learned a lot about, like we said, preparation and maybe what I need to do before the tournament, whether it's playing more tournaments or doing different type of practice. So yeah, a summer full of things I've learned, and we'll carry on to the next few years, and hope that helps me next time I'm there. So
Yeah, for
look
sure.
forward to it.
It's first, even though you've been there numerous times before, you've never been there as a pro before.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's awesome. I guess I have a couple of mailbag questions that came in for you. I think mostly from your family.
Yeah. I imagine. I imagine.
The Instagram handle is Nana McKinlay.
Yeah. There you go. There's
She
one.
asked, what do you find is the biggest difference between college golf tournaments and professional?
I mean, it's easy to say the competition just because, pro golf is kind of handpicked from the top of every school or tournament or uh, conference from college golf. So that's obviously a big difference because you got to kind of prove yourself in college to give yourself a good chance at pro golf. But setup wise, like I don't think it could be much more different. I think pro golf is so much more relaxed, which maybe is contradictive to maybe what people think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a 4 day tournament and they're back to back to back. So guys, there's a lot more camaraderie between players that are competing with each other every week, I think. Uh, and yeah, the setup is just, most weeks you're going to play 2 9-hole practice rounds, and you got 4 days of golf and everything's spread out. And college golf, in a lot of cases, you're flying in, playing a practice round, playing 36 holes, playing 18 holes, and flying out immediately after your round. So it couldn't really be more jam packed and in times chaotic. And as much as you do have friendships, maybe with some other guys you play with a lot on other teams, it's so much more, spending time with your own team. So, uh, yeah, college golf is definitely a little bit more chaotic, and even the golf that's being played is much more aggressive. I think pro golfers are much more measured and analytical about their approach because they got 4 rounds to go kind of put together their tournament. And in college golf it's 2 days of aggression and go make a bunch of birdies. So
Yeah.
uh, not to say that the scores are any better because they're not, but that yeah, that's the biggest difference just because it's a completely different timeline and you're trying to fit everything in so tight in college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be nuts. Um, Another question came in from Shay Reynolds. What is your favorite memory from your home course?
That's there's so many. I mean, Lacombe, like the golf course there is where I've spent every summer basically since I started playing golf. As maybe short and as simple as it is, it's difficult and I think is a little bit trickier than many people think. So
Mm-hmm.
um honestly, it probably like if I had to think of anything, it's like when I was in say upper elementary school and like junior high, we had a group of buddies and it was like 4:04 every day after school. We went and played 9 holes and it was like those were like our tea times. So one of the parents would pick us up and drop us off at the course and we'd just go, yeah, just go play golf. And that's all it was. There was nothing about it that was competition other than maybe playing each other for a hot dog or something at the turn. But yeah, doing that, and then we'd go sit and play chipping games or 21 or putting games until someone come pick us up. So that's what I remember for sure. And then I mean, there's so many more just because I've spent a lot of time there through however many summers. So now that I'm living, down south, I don't know if I'll be there as much, which sucks, but I'll definitely make time to go back there every summer and play some golf. So
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good track. We were there one year on the tour and actually had a guy who is very picky about courses and greens. He's in my champ flight, so he's one of the better golfers, and he's a member at the Glencoe. And he actually told me that he felt, yes, the greens are way smaller,
yeah,
um,
definitely.
but he felt that they rolled better than the Glencoe, and I was like,
Yeah, that's the thing. I
whoa,
think it's tough for us to keep our greens really good all the time, but when they are good for tournaments, they're incredible. So I wish they could be like that more, but like yeah, it's when the greens and the comb are good, it's there's nowhere more fun to play for me. So
yeah.
yeah.
I remember playing a ladies open there one time. It's the only time I've played Lacombe.
Mhm.
And there was a huge storm, like think like day one of Cold Creek situation, the night before the open. So they didn't have time to do anything to the bunkers the morning. It was a 9 a.m. shotgun the next day. So the bunkers were all like kind of flooded out. There was branches, twigs, leaves, everything in there. And I swear to you, I think I hit every single one.
Yeah, but now they're full of water. Yeah.
I hated everything that day, and the drink cart could not have come. It needed to come 5 holes sooner, and I'm pretty sure it hit me on hole 5. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was not a good day. So I need to give it another chance, maybe
Yeah.
when I'm not in a tournament situation and in every
Agreed.
single drown out bunker. If you could give one piece of advice to these golfers that are kind of reaching the end of high school, starting to look at college, maybe have already committed to college, what would you tell them?
Ooh, that's tough because I think what I would tell my younger self is that it's all gonna work out. Doesn't really mean anything because now that I'm here, it did work out, but I think there's a very easy it's a very easy thing to do that to kind of stress over what you maybe don't have yet because, you know, to get a scholarship or to get this or that, like it takes a lot of time and maybe it'll surprise you and you might be able to get invited to a tournament or get invited to go visit a school and that might come out of the blue, but a lot of the times gonna take it's gonna take longer than you would like it to. So yeah, patience is everything. And in that time that you're being patient, as long as you're honestly working your ass off, like they will come. Like there's no reason that you shouldn't get those opportunities because uh honestly, like one of the biggest things I've noticed, especially in college golf, is like, yes, you have to shoot good scores and you have to uh, have a certain resume that's something that coaches look at, but the person you are makes a big difference. It doesn't really matter how good of scores you shoot. If you're going to a visit or getting into school already and the coach doesn't really want you on your team, on that team, you're gone. So, uh, yeah, I think the better person you can be and get along with the coach and the teammates, like that's gonna prove to help greatly when you get to school and recruiting. So, and you should just do it no matter what because you're more fun to play with. I know everybody's
Right.
had playing partners and playing competitors that have been less than enjoyable. So I think the more enjoyable you can be, you'll find that your own golf game will probably be a lot better and you'll probably get more opportunities. So I've definitely been that guy before. Nobody wants to. Some people get stuck in it, but yeah, the better
Yeah,
you can be on that side of golf, I think the better off you'll be.
I love that you use the term that guy. I was just going to tell you that's what I call that person.
Yeah,
Like, Tyler, don't be that guy. Okay?
exactly.
No
No,
one
nobody
wants to
wants to
play
be
with
that
that
guy.
guy.
Nobody wants to play with that guy. Yeah,
Don't be that guy.
yeah,
I like that. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. This was way longer than I was expecting it to be, so I apologize for that,
absolutely.
but I really appreciate all of your time, and I'm sure the listeners will as well, and all of your insight into everything.
I hope so.
Um, all the best. Maybe when we have the St. George trip in March coming up. Actually, really quick, can we touch on some of the courses? Because we're gonna kind of co-promote this St. George trip,
Yeah,
probably around the same
absolutely.
time this podcast comes out. Now that you're living there, you can give us some insider information.
Of
So,
course.
starting with like Black Desert, where again, not sure when this is coming out, but last weekend over Thanksgiving weekend, the Black Desert Championship was on the PGA Tour. I feel like that's a no-brainer, right? We got to go to that one.
Yeah, like as far as what's now the best in St. George, that's it. Like PGA Tour golf course, it's beautiful. You got views, you got good golf course, good conditions. Hard to
And a
beat.
really neat experience with like this all-inclusive sort of thing that we were kind of talking
Yeah,
about. Technology on the range. I think it was said it was TrackMan. Okay, so Black Desert, we're solid. Um, if you could pick any other two in St. George, because we've got Wolf Creek and Mesquite that I feel like is a bucket trip, bucket list. And then I don't know if you've ever played, have you played Coyote Springs out in Moapa, I think
I
is
haven't, but I have family members that did, and it's a bit of a hidden
so good.
gem
I love
because
it.
it's in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, exactly.
It's legitimately in the middle of nowhere. There
Yeah,
is nothing like
yeah.
40 miles in any
But
direction
everything
of
I've
it.
heard is it's a fantastic golf course.
So we played it in April and I called it a mix. This is probably gonna not compute in your mind, but we've just played both courses so many times. It's a mix of desert willow in Palm Desert,
Okay.
where you get like the big fat palm trees and the lush, the plants all around and colors and all that kind of stuff, mixed with Mickelson, where you
Okay.
get this abundant bunkering, really aggressive bunkering, aggressive slopes on the greens, quick greens,
Mhm.
and just in incredible condition. Like for me, that's what I called it, a mix of desert willow and Mickelson, which is
Love
a really weird combination,
it.
but it's what my brain came up with. Okay, so if you could pick any two outside of Black Desert in the St. George area, hurricane, anywhere in that area, what two do you think we need to go on for this trip?
We talked about it a bit before, like Sand Hollow. As far as views, it's very unique. The front nine, you'll likely start on the front nine, and it's not a lot to it. So, make sure you're patient on the front nine. It's still a good golf course, but then once you get to the back nine, it's some of the coolest holes right along this kind of ledge, kind of cliff. Uh, that are it's very unique. So very good golf course. Yeah, a little bit just outside of St. George, but definitely unique. Great views. Usually in good shape. If I had to pick one more, it's tough. I think if you're going for just like pure golf course with, again, everything here has great views. Copper Rock, solid. I think they play an Epson Tour event there, which is like the LPGA's feeder tour. So it's always in great shape. I haven't been out there in years, but it's from what I remember, great golf course and get some elevation change, but most of it is just really good and great fairways and greens. And then your kind of two sleeper picks, I think, would be Green Springs and Sky Mountain. Sky Mountain, same thing, some really cool views and kind of a more small town feeling golf course, a little bit older. And then Green Springs is just one in town, just a good public golf course in town that usually in the spring has wicked fast greens. So that's a little bit tricky over golf course, but yeah. Basically anything you pick is gonna be good, but those are really, really solid golf courses to come play down here. So
Awesome. Appreciate the feedback.
yeah, of course.
And we'll definitely be in touch whenever we actually get this all figured out and planned. And maybe if there's room or you're around, you can rip out and join us for a
Yeah,
round. That would
absolutely.
be super cool.
Yeah,
Okay. Thanks again, Brady, for your time. Really appreciate it. And good luck in the 2025 season.
thank you. Appreciate it.